Hello, Tom.
Hello, Ernie and Ernie.
Hey, Tom.
Okay.
Hey, good to have the band back together. It feels like a long time.
Mhm.
I just finished my lunch. You're welcome to mute your video if you want some
Hello,
privacy
Tom.
while you eat yours.
Hello, Ernie and Ernie. I just had my dinner. Okay, my late dinner. 10
I'm having a little bit of cereal, so I'm almost there.
A very late breakfast, huh?
Yep.
Should we ask about the Band-Aid on your forehead?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was assaulted this morning. So,
My gosh.
yep.
On the streets or by an inanimate object?
No, it was an animated object.
Ah,
Yep.
we should see the other guy?
The lady.
Ah.
Well, the woman. Call her a lady. But she's not here right now. She's being booked because I charged her with assault and battery.
Oh my.
Yep. It's an adventure over here.
My goodness. Never a dull moment.
You know that.
All right. Are we ready to continue, or do you need a moment? You're good? Okay. We will just let that roll and go back to our abstract theoretical discussions. Tom, I believe you have the floor and the homework.
Yeah, I sent you guys a little package of clips by email, number one, and I'm prepared to show it and run through it. That's all. Let's see. ValPlan.
Did I miss that?
Yeah,
Oh, I
I
see
did.
it.
Anyway, if you got it or not.
I don't know if I got it.
If I present it orally.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
let's
was this
go
the
to.
we do? No, that was November. Anyway, I do not see any emails from you since the 12th. So if it's in transit, it hasn't reached here.
Okay. Anyway, I'm ready to share screen and run you guys through it.
Okay, yeah, Ernest, by the way, one thing we decided to do was that at the end of each meeting, we send an email with the action items for next week and make sure everyone receives it so we don't have the comedy of errors.
Right.
All right, that's a great idea.
Yes.
It
I have not
worked
read
this
that as a,
time.
it did. I have not added that as a formal strategy, but we might.
That's pretty good.
Follow up, Tracy. Okay, so if we start at this table here, and my assignment was to look into this use ValPlan. Okay, now, so I had a reaction there, but understanding where you're coming from. ValPlan is merely the app, and the intent of you, I'm sure, is that we use Planguage to plan the thing, and maybe ValPlan, maybe plan as, or maybe not.
Right, so
But
that's actually, can I ask the question then? Because that's something that I get confused on. I wonder if you have more precise language for this. So like there's a goal of trying to check these business goals, like these different objectives, these high level value statements. And then there's a, maybe is the right word, the strategy is to use Planguage and the tactic is to use ValPlan? Or is there a better way of languaging that?
No. Actually, ValPlan chose the word solution, but solution conceptually is the same as a strategy, a design, a tactic, an architecture, or anything that you do in order to reach your objectives within your constraints.
Right. Okay.
So now and that's in the competitive engineering book, that's also the word we use, solutions. It's a very generic word. But when I'm planning with top managers, I will use the term strategy. when I'm planning with techies like us, I will use the term design, or maybe if they're not big enough culture, I will refer to their architecture.
Mm.
But it's all exactly the thing. It's the thing you do in order to impact your objective and not use too much money and time.
All right, but so in this context here, at least the label here, the solution is using ValPlan, but it's part of use Planguage. So
yeah. So what I've done is I said I understand intent, and I think it's very important to distinguish between the method the app uses for the method. It's like we should write great literature in Word, and so the strategy is to use Word. No, it is to write great literature,
right?
With pen and paper. You know, the app is almost immaterial. Question is something, you know, to compare to when you don't have that. That's the question, and it's the question we can. I believe the app adds quite a lot in practice, but I spent 50 years of my life without the app. I know it works without the app.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's really good, because I am very much bullish on Planguage and ambivalent about the app. Like, it's amazingly useful for a whole bunch of things. Yeah. It's also incredibly annoying for another set of things. And I'm still trying to tease those apart.
Right. Okay. Well, now let's see. Let me just. Okay. So what I've done, I'll go to the canvas and go to the solution level. Okay. And I have a major solution called use Planguage, which was the intent. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then what I've done is I've decomposed it to major sub-strategies. Down here, you'll see the one we started with, use plan. Okay. And let's just say that within this framework of use Planguage, all of these are options, but they all work together.
And probably for, you know, planning the future of humanity, probably all of them need to be put into play. Something very trivial, maybe one of them would be a good idea or something like that. Okay.
Right, and for the purpose we have here of just trying to bootstrap something like Datocracy amongst the three of us, do you have a sense for which ones are most relevant?
Yeah, wait a minute, my lovely little Bluetooth microphones decided not to be nice to me.
Ah, yes, I've been hearing.
I don't know why it goes back and forth, but they're new headphones. Sorry, new headphones. So you're back. I mean, worst case, I take off the headphones and listen to the loudspeaker, but it's going back and forth there. Okay,
it's working okay for me. So it just the transition between is a little awkward.
Your is sort of hollow or hollow, you know, echoey. So if there's anything you can do to dampen the echo, it would probably sound better, but I can live with it as it is.
Yeah, your sound is kind of, sometimes it cuts off and it sounds like you're in a tunnel.
Yeah,
what they say is that when it comes to like recording podcasts, a wired microphone is better than a Bluetooth one because
I've heard that as well, and I'm not organized enough to find mine.
Okay, I just so you get the feedback. So, okay, so so what I've done is taken this high level idea, use Planguage, and then I have decomposed the detail. So if we are doing a table, a high level, like this, here's your original use plan. I'm leaving it there, okay? And then here's this Planguage. So this is, it turns out if we take a look at this use Planguage, we see that it consists of all these things. Okay, so back to the table. So
having said that, what I'm going to do is delete the use ValPlan. It is included here, and it's in detail. So I'll just get rid of it.
Okay. I noticed there were some values under the using ValPlan that didn't seem to, or the number that we had entered, which didn't seem to be captured in use Planguage.
There shouldn't be, because in the used language, we've got the using ValPlan to plan Datocracy. That's exactly what we had before. That's all we had before. I've added everything else there.
Okay, well, we keep going. Maybe I'll figure it out as you go along.
Okay, so this is it's a different color intentionally. This is what we had, and I said the intent was that you can't use the plan without these other things. So the intent was to use other things to plan Datocracy, and in fact, in the Datocracy book, I am using exactly these methods to plan it. Okay, I mean, examples of it are already there, such as the objectives. Okay, now, having done that, we go back, built a detailed, this as an overview table, the overview being used language and all the other strategies we were thinking of, and going to the detail table purpose of today's discussion is called, what I'm doing, this is basically Planguage, this whole set of things. Okay, there's our using ValPlan, and sorry. And then I have exactly the same objectives here. So what I'm doing, I'm analyzing this here. Okay. Now, if I analyze depth, let's take an example. I've analyzed in depth 2 dimensions. The column dimension, which is stakeholder analysis, impact on all objectives and costs. And then I've also analyzed all
of the strategies. Default microphone. And I've actually added them up at the end here, sort of a sum. Now, this sum is large enough that I can, in a sense, I can, going back to the original
table here, was, I would soon get rid of my.
Oh, that's what confused me. It doesn't look like it recalculated that, because I'm seeing all zeros after the first row, which I
no. Yeah, all of these zeros, it means nobody's calculated anything in these instances. I have, however, well, let me explain this. So the what I'm saying is I'm making an estimate. This is called used language. I'm making an estimate about how much it impacts our this goal. And in fact, I've given it a hefty, we get to our goal and we
100% assertion, which may or may not be true, but I'm just saying, because I have so much goodness effect, it is coming from all those different language things, and because they are in a sense additive, I can conclude that I have
a hell of a lot of effect of the using language on this particular goal. That's all. Now, you were confused about something, so go ahead. Maybe we need to sort this out before we move on.
yeah, just like when you looked at that, all I see is that this one row has a 90, and so I guess what are the numbers in these in this column under used language? What are those 2 numbers? Just so I'm clear on what they're supposed to mean.
Okay. So you see, we have.
Tom, your headset is garbling things horribly, I'm afraid. Sorry.
With the headset, as the Queen said in Alice in Wonderland.
Okay, I'm going back to just using my Mac, my new Mac Pro, by the way, in audio in and out. You hear me fine?
Sounds great. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Now, okay. So there are two numbers here. This number here is the degree of movement from the status towards our goal. And the number 90 means 0 plus 90. It means an assertion that using Planguage, we expect to get to our goal exactly and on time. That's what the 90 means. Now, it turns out that 100% is percentage of the goal. So since we achieved our goal exactly, or we're estimating we will, that amounts to 100%. Let me show you just as an example. If I put an arbitrary number here, 42, that means I believe that using Planguage will get me a movement on this scale of measure from 0 to 98. It'll move me to 42. And that turns out to be 43% of the way.
Got you. So we put so there's a wish on the left, which is what is part of that requirement. And then there's a expected in the small number, which gives us the percentage in the lower.
So
okay.
what we have here on the table. Now, by the way, if this is annoying, if you go
Here's
up
what I found.
I like the bar graph and scale impact. Okay, and give it a chance. So here we have, this is something useful for presentations where you don't want to confuse people like I confused you with those two numbers. And what you have is only the percentage number. So, forget the estimate is now hidden. I've switched it off. So we don't have that number there. And I have only one number, and that is the percentage of the way to the goal. So using Planguage gets us 100% of the way to this goal, 43% of the way to this goal, and 10% of the way to this goal. And now it's a little bit more immediately intelligible what's going on. We don't have to deal with those two numbers.
Right. And just so I'm clear, we're talking about a plan at this point, right? We believe that our plan is to get to 100% of this goal, but it doesn't mean that it has done it or even necessarily will do it, but this is our current belief that this is a sufficient plan to achieve that goal.
Yeah.
That level of achievement.
Yeah. What we're asserting is that if we use Planguage, we have a pretty good chance of getting to our goal there. Therefore, we don't need anything else to get to our goal. So these things may be useful for other values, but if we did this first and did achieve our goal as expected, we don't need these to help us achieve the goal.
Okay.
Yeah, what is what that means. Now, okay. So, by the way, if I click on this and show a sidebar called cell impact, this I've done a lot of this in the other table. This is actually a detail of this cell, and when you click on it, you get the detail. Okay, so if it actually says we estimate that we'll get to 90, that's that number, plus or minus 60. In other words, the worst case is 90 plus 60 equals 30. And the best case is 90 plus 60, which is 150. So there's actually a range between 30 and 160 if you want to get in detail. But we've simplified it and said, well, about 100%. In other words, you got to ask the question, is there any deviation here? What is the worst case? That kind of thing. Still with me?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I think I understand. Yeah. I think I understand conceptually. I'm not sure I believe the numbers, but at least I understand what you're trying to do.
Oh, no. Don't worry about the numbers. They're mainly, for example, here. However, since it's my favorite subject of which I have a lot of experience, it is approximately right. But the proof that it's approximately right is looking at the detailed table, the new one I've put in there. We'll look at that in a moment.
Okay.
I just wanted to show this. Okay. Now, by the way, let's see. Yeah, in fact, there's a thing called evidence here. And the evidence is the detailed analysis, the one on of the breakdown to sub-strategies. And the source of the analysis is mostly Gilb and his clients. So I'm giving you some information about where the heck I'm getting that number before you decide whether you believe it or not.
Okay, here's just like a technical question because I'm a little confused. It looks like this is a number. So I thought this was a number, like a single number that you added in manually here at this level. But the way you talk about it makes it sound like this is actually the agglomeration of all these sub numbers on the other table.
Well,
That's
it is. No, it's both.
Ah.
Now I haven't digitally related these two tables. Therefore, when I sum up, I've got to put this in manually. But
Gotcha.
I could relate the tables automatically, and they would add up. But that isn't there right now. Okay.
Okay.
But it's technically possible. But what I've done is, so let's go back to the larger table where there's more detail and more to learn. So here is the Planguage table where I've done some more work on it. Okay. So I've actually done work. I did the stakeholder analysis tactic or solution or process. I've put some estimates in all the way down, even including the cost. Okay, so I've done one column. In other words, I've done one strategy with let's call it if this were the major effect I wanted for that, then this would be called the main effect, and these would be side effects. Okay, it's like when you move a chess piece and a whole lot of things happen. Maybe there's one major reason, like check, that you move that piece, but the piece is covering a lot of other things simultaneously, and they're the side effects of that move. And then there's the cost of the move, which is time on the clock and a move. Those are our resources.
Sorry, just so I lost something. Which one is the main and which one are the side effects?
Okay. Now, the main effect is mainly a matter of intent. If I decided that I need this stakeholder analysis in order to make process on this goal, then by definition, since that was my main intent, that is my main purpose of this. So
okay, is that marked somewhere or is that implicit?
No, it's not marked in any way.
Okay, it's just a...
now, by the way, I'll tell you something. When you read a table like this, if there's a very big number in one of them and not in the others, probably that's the main one. And the others are side effects.
Right, so just maybe this is because I added that last requirement later. The fact that that last one is 90% may just be, is that an artifact or was that intentional?
Sorry, are we going back to the other table?
No, go down to the 6th row of this table.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay.
Communal infrastructure.
That one. Yeah. Communal infrastructure. Sorry. I forgot I'd done that. Now, yeah. So the one that has the biggest effect, we could even say, let's just say that even though the designer doesn't specify their intent, the biggest number is the main effect.
So was that your intent though, or was that an artifact of the fact that I added it so late?
That's an accident.
Okay, thank you. That was confusing me. So if you could just drop that down to 10 or something, that would make it confusing.
The point is that,
okay.
Now, by the way, it could well happen that the architect or designer is a strong multi-dimensional thinker and has said, I'm going to focus on these three and design something for it. Then, in fact, by intent, and we could document it, these three would be the main effects and everything else would be side effects.
Right.
So it's partly a matter of intent. Now, by the way, intent or not intent, it doesn't matter. It's the same in chess. No matter what your intent was, that chess piece has the power it has according to the rules of chess, no matter what you thought.
Well, I like to say that intent, to first order, intentions don't matter, only actions. But to second order, intentions matter because they tell you whether you want to change your actions.
Okay, maybe, yeah. Now, the important point here is that we're doing multidimensional thinking at all times. That is, the moment we take a move, in other words, plug in a strategy, we will account for what we think we're going to get from it. Just as a chess player would think of all the things that happens when I move that piece. They've got to think of everything. If they fail to think of one single thing, they're certainly not going to win the world championship, as, by the way, the Norwegian Magnus Carlsen did today. He won the world championship over a Russian today.
Good for him.
Yeah, not bad. Oh, by the way, little Norway with 3.5 million population beating the chess nation of Russia.
Yeah. As I recall, the Scandinavians take great pride on whatever occasions they're able to beat the Russians.
Well, actually, we prefer it's, you know, it's like, you know, when I was young, we used to say it was a rivalry between California and Texas. Well, the rivalry in Norway is with the Swedes, who were our owners until 1905, and we had a little revolution and separated from them. So, you know, it usually is but we are literally geographical neighbors to Russia up the top there. And the relationship is actually almost better than with the Swedes. I mean, we've gone to war with the Swedes in man's memory, if you're old enough, 115 years old.
Didn't you have some issues with Russia?
No,
I guess not. No, that's right. No, that was over 100 years ago. That's right. Yeah, you're right.
Have invaded Finland and taken over, but they've never invaded Norway. And in fact, they chased the Nazis out of Norway at the end of the war, and then they retreated back to Russia and said, here's your country. So we like the Russians. They're nice people compared to the Swedes.
The horrible Swedes, yes. I suspect that's not a majority position around the rest of Europe, but I can see why you would have that view. Okay.
Yeah.
Moving along.
No, we're cool with the Russians. They've been nice to us. And we'd love to beat them in chess, and they're sitting there wondering, what the hell happened? We are Russia. You know? And this 24-year-old, you know, beaten, actually, he's been in power for about 10 years now. He's won his 5th rematch for the world championship, which is pretty good. He's also simultaneously world championship in lightning chess and several other disciplines. So he's got about 20 world championships in chess to his name.
Wow.
Look him up, Magnus Carlsen. Anyway, but the point is, chess is a very good analogy for what's going on in this table. You know, chess is, everybody knows it's very multidimensional, and one move has some costs. You know, the time on the clock and the move itself are the basic costs, and then you have multiple effects. And then ideally, every move you make would have a hell of a lot of good effects rather than one slight effect, you know? So it's very analogous. The point is, these tables are forcing us to think as rigorously as a chess player, is a good way of putting it, okay? And if a chess player didn't think very rigorously, they're quickly wiped out, okay? Now, okay, so yeah. Now, by the way, I took the trouble to do the detail on this one, at least in the corner. Didn't have time for everything. Show the sidebar impact cell. There we are. Okay. So see, whichever one I do here has the detail. So this is the non-detailed overview one. There's what I call the real number on this scale, going from 0 plus 9. And that's about 10% of the way to 90, as we can quickly calculate. For presentation purposes and getting the big picture, it's actually better to use this percentage number. But the real number is reality in the life of the people doing this. This is a meaningful thing on a scale of measure they understand. So we actually need both of them. It's sort of like centigrade and Fahrenheit. They are exactly the same thing. You know, 0 centigrade is 32 Fahrenheit, but the world seems to need both of them. Now, back here. So here it tells you here exactly what we're looking at. We're looking at the permissionless and collaboration innovation, collaborative information. We have this scale. Here's the full scale. It may be abbreviated here. And we are the solution area here is stakeholder analysis. So what we're looking at is what is the impact of this solution on this objective? And the answer is our estimate is it is 10%. Okay.
Right, and just so I understand, because it's blurred, the participant it's scoped to is for the Datocracy committee. Is that right?
Well,
or
again, the definition, no matter what this says, your definition begins with this scale. And we've got 2 points on the scale. We claim that the current status is 0 on that scale. And we claim that in a future time, at a future date, actually January 2022, we want to be at 90%.
right, but
Okay.
the question is that for all participants, or is that just for the Datocracy committee? That's what I was trying to figure out, what that
Okay,
requirement
now,
was.
to get answers like that, we've got to
Drill down, okay.
That, and we go to the wish.
There it is up there. Okay, yeah.
and
Actually,
then
the
here
summary at the top, actually. Okay, it has it more in detail
participant
here.
is just the Datocracy committee, and actually you can see it there too. But what we're doing, we're abbreviating that a bit to get, because if you really want the whole thing, you really have to look at
Yeah.
something.
But
so
actually,
big
if you go actually scroll up to the top, I think it actually has a summary there that is.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. There we go. Yeah.
Well,
That's
here,
actually-
notice when I click on the wish, I get the full wish.
Mhm.
Isn't that cute? Click on status. There's a detail of that, and click on the wish. I get the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that. Yeah.
Okay, so let me just kind of look at that real quick. So this is in terms of the Datocracy committee, we want to make sure that we cover both the ability to make valuable contributions that feed into the core. Divergent perspective. I don't know if we're necessarily going to capture that here, but let's I'll
again.
gloss over that for now. But yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and the content types, video and the VALP. So the idea, if I understand it correctly, that within the scope of, for us as a committee, using both ValPlan and videos together under the context of Planguage, we think we're going to get to this vision of permissionless and collaboration implementation, and that it's going to contribute to that goal by these different facets of Planguage.
Yep.
Okay, that helps me understand what's going on. Thank you.
Okay. So what we're seeing here is each one of these solutions seems to contribute a little bit, about as much as any other one, between 6 and 17%. Who cares?
Mhm.
Okay. And then if we add up all the numbers, we get a magic number here, which is simply the addition of these numbers, 129, right?
Okay.
Now, let me explain that number. Let's assume these are, actually, I skipped over stuff that I don't think I should skip over before I go on. So let me go back there. Okay, so here's the estimate. We're going to move up 9 units from 0 plus 9 towards 90. By the way, then I ask another question. What is the uncertainty? What is the plus or minus here? And I've got a huge number there, 10. Okay, which means it could even go backwards, 9 minus 10. And it means it could be about twice as much as we estimated in the best case. But I'm asking, and it turns out the moment you ask that question, people will give you typically a non-zero number. They realize it varies, that there's a range, and there is no exact number. So this exact number is sort of hiding the fact that it's not an exact number, but I can go to my settings and turn on the plus minus thing, and I can see the plus minus if I want to. But
Yes, could you turn those on? Because I'm actually really curious now.
Yeah, okay. So going to the settings and see it says show the plus minus uncertainty and change it. Now
Okay.
I can see the plus minus if I want.
Okay. That's actually really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. So at some point, some people just want the simplification, and this plus minus becomes noise. Okay, but it serves several purposes. I'll give you a hint. It serves purposes down here in analyzing risk, and we'll talk about that. I mean, it gets computed in here. Okay, down at the bottom, which is the overall value to cost with regard to risk. So this is a risk factor. What is the risk? What is the worst case? Okay. Now, now down here, we say, what is the evidence for the 10%? And I've written down Tom Gilb's opinion based on 60 years of personal experience with this. Okay, source Tom Gilb. And I'm giving myself credibility of 1. Maybe I'll up that. I've got more than one measurement of this. Yeah, I'm gonna. There's a scale here where credibility 1 means perfect credibility. The evidence is so good you can be sure that it's true, and 0 credibility is a random wild number with no basis whatsoever, worth nothing. And I'm going to move myself up there because I have measures from many different clients, and I'll give myself, a credibility, based on 60 years of experience. By the way, what do we do with the credibility? We multiply it times that. In other words, if I get full credibility, my estimate stays at 9. But if I have a low credibility, 0.3, that number effectively becomes 3. It's a way of modifying people's estimates with relation to the degree of fact-based knowledge they can show up with. It also determines, whether you believe them or not. By the way, if I go to the settings and I turn on the credibility ratings, that 0.3 shows up here, and there you can see the modification of the 9 to 3%. Okay, so I'm using both the plus minus uncertainty to look for the worst case, and I'm using the credibility to look at how well founded these two numbers are, and I'm using them to understand whether I have dodgy estimates or reliable, trustworthy estimates. By the way, these are tools for transparency, and we're for transparency in what we do, I guess. You still with me?
Yep.
Okay. So we're transparent about what evidence we have, who coughed up the evidence, and what the range is, what the worst case is, and the evidence and source are basically turned into a number called the credibility scale. Okay. So so we have that. Now, by the way, here is the next one, multi-value focus. This is multi-dimensional setting of objectives. And so I've done the same thing, 15 plus or minus 10. Evidence is Planguage user experience, which you'll find in Gilb's writings, sources Gilb's writings. And
I think you're sandbagging your credibility on that one a little.
Yeah, I am. But I do have order of magnitude 100 or 200 writings, most all of them citing experience with clients, and sometimes citing the client's own report of the experience in public, like Hewlett-Packard and Intel and things like that, and IBM. Okay, so I have a pretty substantial base of reports on how well my methods work. Okay. But right now, by the way, I can get more detail. You'll find some of the other ones here. I've actually got about 10 lines of evidence with URLs to more exact things from like Boeing and things like that. Okay, I just sort of sketched it out here. But the important point is that the numbers here, we can see whether they're based on nothing or something pretty good or something fantastically reliable. Okay, In
Okay.
other words, transparent about how we have estimated these numbers.
Do we have, so the explanation of the numbers is this an example of explaining credibility? So there's for every item, you justify your estimate, that percentage, that or the credibility scale.
Every one of these, I mean, if you don't do anything, actually, if you don't do anything, it's a known unknown, with, in other words, question marks saying nobody's done a damn thing. And that means it's the known unknown, which also means it can be anything, including horribly destructive to the entire system and death kiss. You just don't know. You know, but every one of these has that possibility of being so extremely bad that it kills off a critical factor totally, and nobody wants anything. Okay, so this is an untenable situation in the long term, but it is the initial state in the short term. The whole table is filled with these question marks. And this is where most everybody starts in their planning. You know, they have a whole lot of strategies for a whole lot of goals, not stated very well. They assert that, you know, we know and believe that Planguage is good for you because Tom said so, but they don't take the trouble of looking at it in some more detail. You know, how does this particular strategy impact this particular goal? And what evidence do you have for how good that particular strategy is in practice? And here we have the opportunity to, now the main thing about this whole rigorous process is that it forces the planners to plan well, because it's embarrassing to show top management, here's my plan, and by the way, everything is a question mark. Or worse, here's my plan and everything has credibility 0. I mean, why would you pay anybody to do that? I can get a computer to do that for me for free. The moment you generate the table, all these question marks are generated for free. So I don't need a human being expert to do it. I need experts to raise the credibility that what I'm doing will probably work before we spend several years trying it out and get the actual, by the way, is the feedback. That's what happens when we did it.
So you have
estimates versus actual.
Yeah, the
estimate
actual, what happens on an increment, you know, and then that's our feedback, quite simply. Okay.
So you said the experts kind of justify your estimates.
Yeah. Okay. This is what the expert does. An expert who cannot cite evidence and sources is, in my definition, no expert at all. All experts, by definition, know their trade, know their domain. They know the best that's been done there. They know the state of the art. They know the world record, and they can cite it. So if the moment somebody says, I'm an expert on strategy ID specification, and I've got no clue as to what it does there, I say, you are not an expert, because you don't know what your method does to that critical goal of ours.
Okay.
And what do we do? Well, the expert can seek knowledge, you know, Google it, ask a real expert, or they can give up and turn over the baton to somebody who really does know these things. You know, for example, I pretend to know these things more than most anybody in the world for the simple reason I invented the method and I've been doing it for 60 years. So I probably have the greatest body of knowledge of it. Okay. But people who have don't even hardly know what I'm talking about there, probably have no experience, known experience whatsoever in how it impacts any of these goals.
So how do those people that don't know what you're talking about get to understand what you're talking about?
Okay.
Is there a way?
Let's start at a simpler level. Let's say we have somebody, let's call him the systems architect. And his job is to identify strategies, that's this, that will probably meet the goals, right? That's the job of an architect or designer or strategic planner. So, and let's say he identifies a set of things like this, okay? Now, if every time he goes to estimate, he says, I have no knowledge. What's he doing? He's pulling in a named idea of which he has no knowledge. Now, he's supposed to have knowledge that it helps us reach our values. And if he doesn't have that knowledge, he has no business being the designer or architect, because he doesn't know what he's doing by definition, provably. You have to know what you're doing with regard to our objectives, not just knowing what this strategy is, but you have no idea how it impacts our reality. This is what we're trying to achieve, is these objectives. Throwing in things you know the name of, like let's do agile or have digital transformations, and but you say I have no knowledge how digital transformation impacts that, then you're not allowed to throw it in there. It's against the rules. You have a major defect in your thinking, which is unacceptable to the organization. There's no reason why they should go and do this on your say-so when you admit you don't know what it's going to do.
Well, I think I'd rather have them admit they don't know it than have them pretend that they know it.
That's right. Well, here they don't have a choice. If they can't fill in good stuff with credible evidence and source, effectively they have admitted they don't know what they're doing. And
right.
the
I mean, yeah,
is
yeah.
why did you suggest this? You're supposed to go.
Okay. This is assuming that
suggest something you have knowledge of, and if you have no knowledge of anything, what are you doing here? We can generate random ideas from a computer.
Right.
So okay.
Why don't you, I want to, I have to leave at 2:00 sharp. So I want to start wrapping up and getting into next steps. But if you wanted to ask a few questions first, Ernest, feel free if you were going to say something.
Yeah, like, so you cannot walk around with your university degree and say, hey, you know, I graduated in this thing, or walk around with, I don't know, accolades from people. So in this case, you're saying because what you're proposing doesn't make sense, you're not an expert, right? But is there a way to, like, you know, have, I guess that is what we're looking for, a way for you to prove that you're an expert, but that doesn't rely on
it is very simple.
Making mistakes.
You say, look, for this strategy, okay, which is, by the way, let's go to stakeholder analysis and summary. See, here, this is just the summary of what it is. It's doing the stakeholder work. This is a whole 177 book on the subject, and that's just a summary. The detailed description is, here's one page from that 177-page book with the basic principles of doing it. So right now I have a pretty detailed idea of what the hell is stakeholder analysis. I've written it down and I've given extensive references to more detail. Now, if going back to the specification, okay, impact cell, okay. Now that I know what this is, because it is well defined, that's a precondition. You can't estimate stuff based on a tag normally. You have to know the content of that tag, which I just showed you, the description. And so based on that detailed description of what I mean by stakeholder analysis, what does it do for this? Now, you can throw in a number and say, well, I believe people will do that if you ask them, give me a rough number, and they'll say 10. And then you say, then you surprise them a little bit because it's outside the scope of their practice. You say, can you give me any evidence that your 10 is a reasonable number? Okay. Now, if they say, what do you mean? I said, well, like facts and figures and case studies and measures of this kind of thing, right? Using this particular well-defined method. Now, if what does it say? Well, no, I can't. I've never done it and I've never read about it. Say that the evidence is zero, the source is who's ever talking, and the credibility is zero. In other words, their opinion, no matter what degrees they have or pedigree or respect, is worth nothing. And to sort of make that point, if we go here and recalculate, supposed to be recalculated. Impact cell. There we go. Oh, I didn't, sorry. I thought I'd moved it down to 0 and somehow it wasn't. Okay, so if we recalculate it, oh, I got to worry about time. See, there it is. So the 0.0 credibility multiplied times 9 gives 0%. In other words, when we ask down here at the bottom, what is our sum regarding credibility down here? This number will be calculated using a 0 impact because it's just a random number with no basis, no credibility, so it's worth 0. So this guy won't be a winner or won't be prioritized because it doesn't get enough points. That was going a bit quickly, but I'm panicking a little bit because of time here. We can you can read about this in the competitive engineering book, in the impact estimation chapter, or in the systems engineering architecture book, the C book, on the table here. It's all explained. I normally use one whole day in a workshop, getting people to do it, to teach people the meaning of all of this. And we're trying to squeeze it into an hour, right?
Yeah.
So I don't, in fact, have enough time to let you absorb it.
Mm.
But we're making a start, and we know where to
Yeah.
read about it. We can talk about all we like.
All right.
Yeah, go
So,
ahead.
yeah, so I'd like to talk about next steps with our last 8 minutes.
Right.
Can I share my screen with the proposal?
Share away. Share away. Do I have to unshare mine or
Yep, I guess I can boot you out. Okay.
boot me out? Okay.
Okay. So what I would like to, so I think this is great that we've been digging into this. I would like to propose an objective of, by the end of the year, having this filled out so that we can like have a baseline Planguage definition of what we're doing in Planguage, so that first we can never say, okay, now at least we have a rough sense of where we are. What do we think we should do next? We can actually start using this to make new decisions. Is that feel like a reasonable objective?
If you
Yes.
said to do it at the top level, in other words, a 10 by 10 table, like up to 10 objectives, we got 4 plus costs, and up to 10 major strategies, that's doable.
Right. We have, I think, four strategies and 5
well,
objectives, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, with the existing, with the existing.
That's
four-
doable.
yeah.
So doing that top level properly, where it's not just thrown in something random to fill, that's a distinct possibility before the end of the year. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So what I would like to say is that maybe a reasonable task between now and next week would be for you to actually fill out the Planguage IET, and if possible, get it to us by Wednesday so that we have 24 plus hours to look at it before the Friday session. Does that feel doable?
Is that something you want me to do, or do you guys want to be
I
a
think-
part of the team?
I think I need you to do that first, because all those columns there are things that you've defined, and it would be easier for, and then once you've done that, then if my life
Okay.
settles down, one of us can take a stab at
I can do
the
that.
top level
I
one.
can do that. I can do that. Yeah, so
Okay.
by Wednesday, have a draft I throw over to you guys to show where I am. But
Okay.
yeah, so the task is define the top level things and the table to show how.
Well, so really just the Planguage IET first, is do that. Top level.
Here's the thing, here's why I'm pushing back a bit, Ernie.
Okay.
If you just have tags or names of things and you don't have a detailed enough description, you cannot logically estimate with any accuracy at all. So the first thing I'm going to look at is everything properly defined on both sides, the values with a good scale, etc., and the strategies with some detailed description. If I've got that, then I can do the impact estimation table, but they are a logical prerequisite. That you
So-
don't throw numbers. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so we want to definitely, I would love it if like the table you give us is what you believe these things do mean or should mean. And then we can react to it. It's like, wait, that's not what I meant. But at least we have something
Right.
concrete that you believe in
Sure,
and stand behind.
I'll do my best interpretation to get it in a good first draft state for our discussion.
Okay, and just so I'm clear, are you going to be revising the Planguage IET or the top-level IET or both?
Not the Planguage one. That's the
Okay.
detail. I'll be revising the top level one.
Okay,
Now I've done the detail, of course, on the Planguage, the one strategy. So we know what detail and decomposition looks like. But I don't, and I may define some of those strategies by decomposing them. It's the only way I know to suss out what it really is. I might do that, but that's not my initial plan, and certainly not to make a detailed table like I did for Planguage.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'll do what needs to be done to get it into pretty good shape. That's
Great.
I understand.
Great. I approve. Tom approve. Ernest?
I approve.
All right. We have a formal, it is
So
approved.
Ernie doesn't have to participate in it because he's injured in combat, right?
Oh,
Yeah, well, this week I got a deadline next Friday of something major, but hopefully it'll be done by then so I can breathe tomorrow, that afternoon, and then maybe have some more time after.
Yeah, I'm pretty good on time, so that's fine.
All right, I move we adjourn.